Brett Favre was one of the most beloved NFL stars in the late 90s and early 2000s. Favre had what the media described as an Iron Man mentality and a gunslinger playing style. Before Peyton Manning and Tom Brady were household names, it was Brett Favre that the fans had loved. Towards the end of his career, it was the Favre retirement watch that dominated the headlines. He managed to keep the guy that would become the great Aaron Rodgers on the bench for 4 years, waiting for him to be done playing. And even when the Packers finally decided to move on from Favre, the media and public still loved him. Then there were some chinks in his Teflon public armor. During his tenure on the Jets, he displayed some savage behavior through text messages with the Jets media personality, which eventually became public. But that was nothing compared to what was to come in his retirement years. In this video, we're going to discuss the downfall of Brett Favre and the possible involvement of CTE. And if you stay until the end, I'm going to predict how all of this is going to play out. And just a warning, it's not going to be pretty. Before we get started, do me a favor and click that thumbs up button to help get this video get out there. Then also subscribe to this channel and hit the bell notification so you can get an update every time we put out a new video. This story starts in 2008 when Brett Favre was a member of the New York Jets. Actually, you know what? Let's rewind it to 17 years earlier when Brett Favre was a rookie with the Atlanta Falcons. I bet you even totally forgot he was even once a Falcon. It's easily forgettable, and he was only there for his rookie season. Right off the bat, he was battling addictions. His coach, Jerry Glanville, famously said that he traded him to Green Bay because the only thing open there late at night was a Chili's. The addiction problems continued through his tenure in Green Bay. In 1996, it was reported that Favre suffered a seizure, which was related to his addiction to painkillers. He went to rehab, and the NFL imposed an alcohol ban on him. He was mostly lauded in the media for overcoming this addiction, as he should have been, had it been true. While that was the only reported visit to rehab that he had at the time, Favre later admitted in 2018 that he actually went to rehab 3 times while on the Packers. Now, fast forward to 2008 when he was with the Jets. Brett Favre, who was married, was lonely and horny, so he sent Jen Sterger, who was a media personality with the Jets, a picture of his. Okay, to be fair, he was a little respectful. He sent her a couple voicemails and text messages before he worked his way up. But again, while he got bashed a little bit at the press, it was really the beginning of social media, so it wouldn't have gone as viral as it would today. And he maintained that kind of positive public persona. Even the few years after he retired, his agent would always put things out in the media how Brett Favre may decide to come back, and the public ate it up. Public perception was going good for Favre. You would see him show up in these dinky copper fit commercials and, playing backyard football with Wrangler jeans. He would make media appearances here and there, and he made some slight negative news in the liberal media outlets for endorsing Donald Trump during the 2020 election. But for the most part, he stayed out of controversies, at least in the media. In 2022, reports came out that between the years 2017 and 2018, a Mississippi State audit report revealed Brett Favre was paid $1.1 million by state funds for motivational speeches that apparently never happened. Not long after those reports came out, Brett Favre reportedly paid back those funds, but still owed around $200,000 in interest. Okay, damaging, but Brett Favre can still redeem himself from that, right? Until the rest of the information from that audit was revealed. During that time, $5 million from state money was looking to be used at the University of Southern Mississippi to build a volleyball arena, as well as other things such as a new football facility. And guess who happened to play on that volleyball team? You got it. Brett Favre. No, just kidding. His daughter. Okay, so you may be thinking, what's the issue with state paying for a new volleyball for one of their universities? The problem is that the state was using the funds from a $77 million welfare fund that was supposed to go to some of the state's poorest citizens. To make matters worse, the evidence that is being made public suggests that Favre knew where the funds came from in the first place. Favre exchanged texts with Nancy New, who worked for a nonprofit that works with states' welfare agencies, who has already pled guilty for fraud. In one of the texts, Favre said to Nancy New, "If you were to pay me, is there any way the media can find out where they came from and for how much?" Another text from Nancy New to Brett Favre also indicates former Governor Phil Bryant may have been approached as well. However, a separate text exchange from Brett Favre and Bryant seems like more of an indictment on Favre. When referencing a trip with a possible college recruit to the Southern Miss, talking about a new football facility, Favre reportedly wrote, "I said we don't have one, but we're hoping to break ground in less than 2 years. Now that will not happen without your help and commitment." The former governor wrote back, "Use of these funds is tightly controlled. Any improper use can result in violation of federal law." That sounds like a man that knew this text exchange would end up on this YouTube channel one day. Although there were many other conversations indicating that he could have known what was going on. In one of the texts, he even jokes he's too old for federal prison. Now let's go a step further in the scandal. It was also alleged that Favre was also looking to get money from the alleged welfare funds sent to two concussion drug companies backed by Favre. Now that's not the worst part. Those two companies are now being accused of exaggerating the effectiveness of their drugs. A lot of shady stuff here from Favre. A lot of weirdness in the whole scheme, period. Money was allegedly being set aside for the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, from the WWE. I shit you not. And let's be clear, at the time of making this video, Favre has not been charged with any crime. And even if he does eventually get indicted, he should be innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But let's also be clear. He is completely guilty in the court of public opinion and will now be infamous for the rest of his life. While Brett Favre has been connected to some shady and weird stuff after his retirement, it's fair to ask the question, could this all be a result of CTE? Brett Favre was diagnosed with 3 concussions during his playing days. And as we know, concussions are much more common, and we've learned a lot about them over the past 15 years. Brett Favre has recently said that he had thousands of concussions during his NFL career. And if you go watch film of his playing days, we should all believe him. And that same mentality that the public loved, the reckless and fearlessness on the field, may have been damaging off the field. So what will ultimately happen to Brett Favre? My prediction, maybe he gets indicted, maybe he doesn't. This is just a guess, but I don't think he will do any jail time. He will disappear for a bit after having his name in the news for all the wrong reasons, possibly blaming it on the hits he took during his playing days. Then he will become an advocate for concussions, and that will be the only time you hear about him. He will not be embraced by the media, and he will be largely remembered for his scandal first and football second. So what do you think will happen to Brett Favre? Do you think he'll go to jail? Leave a comment below and tell us how you feel about it.